biggest news of the day, and probably is going to be the rest of this week. There was a mass shooting in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was seemingly targeted at Asian or people of Asian descent. So it says that 8 people, including 6 Asian women, were killed in shootings at 3 different businesses in Atlanta and Ackworth, Georgia on Tuesday. According to local police, a male suspect was arrested and charged with several counts of murder on Wednesday. Police said at a press conference in Atlanta on Wednesday, authorities identified the 4 victims in Cherokee County. At least 6 of the 8 people killed were Asian women. And the suspect takes full responsibility for the shootings.
Oh, it wasn't even like a defense thing? He was just like, I did it? Yep. Did he give a reason why?
Oh, no. Well, at least they haven't, published it yet. But people have gone on his Facebook and posted excerpts of, like, shit that he's posted about how basically China is to blame for... Okay.
So it's a very informed inference on why he did it.
You can infer, but
he never actually said, like, I'm doing this because they're Asian.
Well, we don't know if he said it. Like I said, they just haven't released
all the reasoning what he said.
Right. Looking at this, because...
Well, first of all, we're with the whole stop the Asian thing, just to be clear. Like, we've done the whole Black Lives Matter thing.
We support this.
Yeah, and like we always said, if you're not white, you're black. It don't matter if you're... I'm talking about any minority. They see you as a black person.
Right. However, with this happening, now there's a movement, Stop Asian Hate, Stop Violence Against Asians and things like that. Now looking at this situation, a lot of people can draw comparisons to the Black Lives Matter movement that happened, what's been happening for like the last 6 years, but we'll say it got to its peak last year.
Right.
Would it be fair to say that because this is Asian people and this is something that's happening against Asians, black people would have the right to sit this one out?
Yes. Should I explain why?
Of course.
I won't.
Don't let them judge you.
Figure it out yourself. Use your fucking brains. I went like this.
Because I can't say it because I'm racist.
All right, so to parallel Stop the Asian Hate and Black Lives Matter, when Black Lives Matter came out, what was like the initial, very quick response?
All lives matter.
Right. Stop the Asian Hate. It's today it happened, right? So give it some time, but where's the counteract to that? Where's the Stop All Hate?
Right.
You don't hear that, and I'm glad it's not being said and everything.
Yes, make it clear that we're glad this is happening.
Right, but it got to bring it back to, because this has been like a precedent on this podcast before.
Right.
When the civil rights movement happened, right, we're all in agreement that was Black Americans fighting for their rights, right?
Right.
Because they accomplished what they accomplished, all minorities benefited from it, right?
Right.
So with all this shit, when today, fast forward today, when black people are going through they're on the forefront and they're going through all this shit, they get no support from other minorities,
or like very little.
Yeah, because on like at least in the media, maybe in your everyday life it's not like that, and great. But when stories are pushed where Latinos for Trump and Asians aren't with the black movement, they don't understand. They just gotta, they gotta work harder and be like us, and shit like this in the society. That's the shit we're talking about. That's the only kind of problem we have with the whole Stop the Asian Hate thing. That they didn't have Black Lives Matter. They didn't have their back when it was happening to them. But fast forward to right now, black people have their back.
You've seen several celebrities already, from LeBron James. I saw something from Joy Taylor on her Instagram saying #Stop Asian Hate. Mookie Betts, outfielder for the Dodgers, on his social media, Stop Asian Hate. Black people are behind you on this because we understand how you feel and we understand what's going on. However, the issue still remains. Last year, when this was going on in our community, and we were saying like, hey, people need to be made aware of what's going on and how police brutality is killing so many Black Americans. How this country has not at all been fair to black people since its inception. All these things we were told by other minorities, which made no sense at the time and still doesn't. Oh, you got to get over it. Or, oh, like, well, my parents were immigrants and they came over to this country and they have this, that, and the third. You just have to work harder. Or,
oh, cool. They weren't brought over forcibly on ships? Damn, that's insane. And then they weren't enslaved and they were actually able to work and get money for their work? No wonder it was not so fucking hard.
I've heard things of, like, I mean, I get it. But also, it's like, if black people just chose to, like, really, really work harder in school and, like, really go for those type of jobs, they'd really be able to get it. I've heard things as, well, blame affirmative action. Affirmative action is the issue because it made things easier for black people. So now they feel like that they don't have to work as hard.
But at the same time, minorities got to work twice as hard to get half, and people accept that as truth. But
black people,
yeah, accept them. They're the exception to the thing where they just take advantage of. Anytime I hear that, anytime I hear the, like, how did you start it? You said when you started this sentence, what did you say? Damn it, I had it in my head. Shit, but it's just like when they're like, oh, the thing with black people is. Anytime I hear that, it's just like. Just say you don't like black people.
That's it.
Don't fucking dress it up. Just say it. Own your fucking racism. If you want to be that way, just do it. Don't fucking dress it up and all this shit and blah blah blah. Because all the arguments you're making, I can guarantee you, there's like this blanket statement of what I just said. The whole like minorities have to work twice as hard to get half as far. People agree with that all over.
Right.
But then they also believe what you just said.
Yeah.
Like all that shit. You know, it just doesn't make sense, man.
I don't understand how people can compartmentalize like these things and make sense in their head to be like, oh yeah, we have to stop the Asian hate because there's so much like violence against Asians going on. But I say, okay, well then Black Lives Matter. Nah, man.
8 of us were killed. You know how many cops killed us all the time?
And I'm not trying to make this like a tit for tat thing because I'm not. Because like we said in the beginning, which no one will hear,
right?
We said that we are 100% with the Stop the Asian Hate, Stop Violence Against Asian movement. We're completely with that. However, I needed to be highlighted that last year when this was going on, there was a lot of detractors in the minority communities who did not want to get on board with this Black Lives Matter movement. Before we went on this pod, or before we started recording, I talked to Mark about how last year there was so many reports of racial things happening in China against black people. I don't got to go through them. You guys can Google them. But there was a situation where a woman was denied entry into a hospital because she was pregnant and she was going into labor, but because she was black, they said no. People were kicked out of their housing. People were not allowed into McDonald's and like restaurants just to eat. They're black people.
And then when LeBron said what he said about the basketball thing, it was like they basically said fuck N-words.
Right.
They were chanting that shit on the street.
Those are just the ones off the top of my head. There's a whole bunch more. But when this was going on, it was just like everyone turned a blind eye. And here's the thing. This is the thing that I really get tired of as a black person, as a black American. I hate that when I talk to my minority friends and everything, and I bring up how, hey, your community is racist against our community. It's never a disagreement. It's just like, yeah.
But it's not a big deal.
Yeah, so I'm like,
so what?
That's the issue. I'm like, if I said this to anyone else, any other community, you'd be like, you would at least explain to me why this happens. There's never an explanation for racism against black people. It always just goes back to they're black.
Need I explain further?
Starship Troopers, do you need to know more? Huh? Click this link.
Right. You get it. Wink, wink.
They don't. Yeah, they say Starship Troopers. But it bugs me. It bugs me so much because right now, you know, like I said, behind this movement, like it'll do what it needs to do, and black people will be behind it to get it to reach the heights that it needs to reach. Yeah. However, afterwards, I just want people to acknowledge that we were there. Yeah. It goes back to one of the first episodes we had on this podcast with the whole LGBTQ community. I said the same thing. I just want acknowledgement. well, we're here too. Like, we were there, we helped.
That, and let the unity stick from it.
Right.
You know, so when shit starts back up again and Black Lives Matter gets on the forefront again because they're the ones that get the most shit happens to them, be part of it. Remember this moment where everyone was behind the Stop the Asian Hate. And it's what you said even before we started recording. The overall point of what we're trying to say is don't wait for something bad to happen to you or your people to be like, oh, I finally get it. Yeah, I finally get what they were saying because now I'm going through it.
Let's band together.
It's just fucking use some empathy, man. Use some fucking critical thinking, context clues. Put yourself in someone else's shoes for a little bit, and then it's that easy to understand your fellow person.
Because I've seen so much just instant rejection of this person that did this heinous attack, and I'm like, good, should be. This is what happens. This is how it should be. But anytime it happens with black people, it's always like, I need to see the evidence.
Yeah.
What happened?
Bring up all the records on all the victims. Oh, where are the records on all the Asian victims? They got any police records? Let's bring that up in the media.
Was the massage parlors like little jerk spots on the side? Or were they all kind of hookers?
Or were they like, where are those media stories? You don't get that shit.
And you won't.
And they shouldn't. They shouldn't, for to be clear. Because we have to be clear for you people that only hear just fucking the first words we say.
Asian hate what?
Yeah. Cut out the stop part. But that's the way it should be. Again, all we're saying is you have the playbook for it. Just apply it to when there's black victims involved.
I just want the hypocrisy highlighted. As long as that happens, the next time it does happen, because it will happen again, to any minority community, it will happen. You will then be like, oh, we should band together.
That's how things get done. Whoa.
Holy shit.
That's insane.
That's crazy. But instead of separating the shit, because what's going to happen, you give it a couple days, or give it a week or so, what's going to happen is that there's going to be some black person who will say what I just said, but say it not so nice.
Oh, yeah.
And then that'll get highlighted. Mm-hmm. And then there'll be all of a sudden like a Asian and black little thing going back and forth, and how, there's been violence against Asians in the black community forever, which is not true. And this thing will be highlighted, and all of a sudden it'll be like a big thing, and then that will get the full media attention.
Right.
However, what
and the guy that actually killed a whole bunch of Asians
will just slide to the background.
Like, probably get like a fucking small sentence.
Who knows, right? Because they're already, and again, this is already happening to you guys too, but they're already painting the defense. They're not even saying like MAGA boy terrorist, or they're saying the alleged shooter in whatever XYZ. They're not even painting it how they're supposed to paint it. Racist white male decide to shoot up 3 massage parlors because he hates Asians. No, they have no motive. Meanwhile, all his social media is like, I hate Asians.
So you're reaching for motive now.
Man, you see, you gotta do a little research, man. Do a little context clues. But honestly, you're lost. You don't get it, so I'm done with you.
Yeah. Nice. Fuck it.
I'm done with you here. That's literally all I want from this.
Major point from it. Hypocrisy and fucking stick together after this. Remember this. Remember, now that you've gone through it, now that your people have gone through it, remember how it feels for other minorities.
I'm telling you, the one time we were united as a people, it was all racism against Muslims. That was the last time I can remember it. It was 9/11. We were all like, you know what?
I was too young
Muslims.
to really.
And I was like, what? But we were all united.
Maybe I didn't see it because if I had a right type of beanie on around that time, right, and with my beard, I looked pretty Muslim.
But also, it's like I never take like California hate to like other places, because we are pretty laid back when it comes to shit. Mm-hmm. Like, especially in our area, we don't care about nothing that's going on. We care about gang banging and not getting into shit. Like that's the big things, at least in our neighborhoods and our streets and shit. Of course, the world happens, but it's like, look, as long as I'm going to where I got to get to and I'm safe, everything else is like whatever. Right. Like these other places, obviously sitting down with Jason and some other friends who are from other places, they talk about how like, no, this is like super like a big thing in the East or like Midwest, and it's like, oh.
I don't have any facts for this, but I'm pretty sure, like in the other side of the country, their redlining is really crazy. Because over here it's pretty mixed as far as like neighbor. You don't really go around and be like, oh, that's a pure Mexican neighborhood, or that's a pure. It's like no, it's pretty.
They do exist though.
They do exist, but it's rare to see. It's like everyone's kind of sprinkled everywhere at this point. So
it's just from all of this. What needs to also be highlighted is that no one waited to help in this situation. There was no instance, at least from what I've seen so far, there was no instance of like, I don't know, I have to see how this plays out. People instantly
no ramp up to like more Asian violence and shit. It's just
no, people instantly got with it from the black community, and that's how it should be with everything. I brought up to some other friends in 2005, at least in California. I don't know about other places, but in California, there was like a big immigration movement because there was like some laws. I think this was when Schwarzenegger was the governor.
I remember it. Basically what it was, because I remember it now because when that walkouts were happening for schools, for kids to walk out and shit, I kept asking everyone, I was like, what is going on? Like, why are we walking out? And they were just like, I just don't want to be in school.
Right.
Later, I found out, basically, it was if you're any kind of illegal alien over here, if you need medical assistance and you go to the hospital, they have to refuse you on this law that they were trying to pass. And that's why everyone was walking out. I was like, no, you can't just fucking let people die because they're not a citizen of the country they're in. Like,
that's crazy.
That's insane.
But I remember that time vividly because that was like the first, I think, for both of us that we remember of like
some protest shit was going on.
Like it was really happening. And then like I remember that time period because two things were going on. Again, this pertains to the West Coast a little more, but gang violence was at a high because, you know, but there was a big thing going on with Mexicans and blacks at that time period. So during these marches, I do remember that there was people getting jumped and assaults happening and everything on both sides. But there was also a crazy unity that you didn't see until that happened because there was blacks and Hispanics marching together for this issue. And I brought that up today to be like, I feel like every instance where another community was wronged in this country, black people have backed them.
Yeah.
Or they've been needed to get a point across.
They don't put themselves in the forefront of the issue like on this, but they're like, we're with you.
Right.
Whenever like shit needs to happen, we got your back.
Right. Freaking for people who wanted to make this political, South Carolina, the I think it's the senator, but I forgot. I know it's a black man. People credit him with the reason why Joe Biden's in office today. Like, he pretty much told Joe Biden, hey, you need to go with Kamala Harris. You need to do these things, and then you'll have the South on your side.
You talking Yang? Huh? Andrew Yang?
No, this dude is black, but I forgot his damn name. But a lot of people credit him with the reason why, you know, Joe Biden is the president today, because he pretty much gave Biden a playbook that Biden ran, and he won. And he was advised by this guy. And it's like, again, not to mention if you want to take it just to common sense and numbers, like voter turnout for the black community during this last election was insane. And it pushed a lot of the battleground states to go to Biden.
And that's why they're suppressing the voters heavily right now.
So it's like, again, you can feel how you want to feel about like black people or whatever, but understand that we will always have your back when it's for the greater good.
And me, Mark, speaking for all black people, I can attest that this is true what Dwayne's saying.
I'm just saying, because I really don't feel like it can be disproven where we don't.
No,
in any situation.
People will nitpick,
of course,
from personal experience and blah, blah, blah. But when it's a big ass general whole thing going on,
right?
Yeah, we got each other's backs.
Like anytime politically or socially, when black people are needed to rise, they've risen.
Right.
And I'm not saying that every other culture has in their community hasn't, but I'm just saying that 9 times out of 10, the black community is always needed to push whatever point it needs to get across. Same thing with culture and everything. Like, today's culture is basically hip-hop culture. That's black people. Again, you can take that from what you will, but black people make things cool. We are the reason why certain things get pushed in this country and that are actually then turned popular. We're the reasons that the music that you listen to is considered pop music. It's like, we drive it. But we don't, like, they'll give us that. They'll take our money for that, but they won't give us the fact that, hey, maybe you wear your shoes like that. You might not know. You might think, no, it's because my brother or my cousin, but right. Your brother, your cousin got it from some black person that he looked up to a long time ago. He just didn't tell you. Or, I like this XYZ because it's like, yeah, that's because of other things.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be made that American music is just black music. Started off, I mean, you could start off with is blues or jazz? Which one's older, blues or jazz?
I would say blues.
Okay, so blues definitely black music, right? And then jazz comes. That's black music. Jazz becomes pretty much rock,
right?
Which is black music. Chuck Berry, king of rock and roll, not the weirdo fucking Elvis.
Nope.
And then from there, I'm sure there's like a whole bunch of subgenres and shit. Yeah. Fucking goes to hip hop, and then pop.
Yeah.
Because think about it right now, pop is just hip hop with little difference.
Yeah, same drums, same melodies. There really is a difference anymore.
Yeah. Like, yeah, just like, can you name a pop song that isn't a hip hop song right now? Like, even Taylor Swift had to change from her country shit when she first started out to now. It's basically
like damn near like almost for like the last couple of albums, all of Katy Perry's singles have included some black artists featured with her. Yeah. From Snoop to the Migos to...
There was one that was really bad. I remember. I can't remember. No, I mean, like, when the feature came, right. He did, like, a very fucking, like, he phoned in verse, and then it was just like...
Okay. Who cares?
Right.
But I'm just saying this. I'm not trying to incite anything or make people mad and be like, no, black people, blah, blah, blah. But what I'm saying is, if we can be used to push things and make them popular, then we should also be used to make the world better. And if we can understand that, I don't understand why other communities have such a hard time just getting all on the program with the shit. Because I'm also not saying that black people have it all together, because we don't. Trust me, we don't. Because our community as a whole is fucked up. Because we have a lot of things that we haven't dealt with, from homosexuality to fucking mental health. There's a bunch of things that we just have not dealt with, and I don't know if we ever will. But
maybe if you guys started getting treated right, then you could tackle all those things.
But it's like, I feel like it'll be a lot easier to combat all those things together than it is to fight all those things on separate fronts with separate different communities.
Yeah. Also, this is the last thing I'll say on this thing. The reason why a lot of Asians go like, oh, black people just don't work hard as us and they don't do like how we do and blah, blah, blah. That right there, you're falling victim to what white people did to you, that they did to you a long time ago. And they set this shit in motion a long time ago. It's called the model minority. And they painted you guys as good at math, good at this, blah, blah, blah. And they work so hard and they put together, blah, blah, blah. They painted you as a model minority so that they could put you above all the other minorities and say, like, how come you're not like them? So, again, you're playing into their classic playbook. And anytime you reiterate all that shit, you're basically just, like, looking up to the old white masters going, like, did I do a good job? Did I say what you said? Yeah. Cool.
It's like we're all fighting, like we talked about before, we're all fighting for second place.
Yeah.
On this, and it's like that's not the point at all. And hopefully from this, I want black people to be able to embrace Asian culture a lot more, even though I feel like we do a lot. But
Wu-Tang Clan?
Fucking anime is extremely huge in the black community.
First, for anime right now, real quick, the first black studio owner in Japan, like he became the first one over there, and he makes some dope shit. Like, I'll post some stuff about him, but he makes some dope ass fucking stuff.
I hope that from this we're able to learn more about the cultures and infuse them more, but also I just hope that this will open the lines of willingness to want to do that and not be so like, I don't know, like whatever. Because like I said, you're going to see it. You're going to start seeing protests and marches. And when you see us out there with you guys the same way, like last year, there was a lot of different cultures I saw out there with the Black Lives Matter protests where I was just like, I hope this stays. I hope this same unity stays and people will then start to be like, I don't have an issue with Black people or Hispanics or Asians or, whatever.
Get more specific. I got an issue with this specific person.
Exactly.
And then give reasons that aren't his race.
It's so easy. But, we'll see what happens with this. Only time will tell of if this hopefully gets rectified and hopefully, this person who did this heinous thing doesn't inspire other people to do other stupid shit.
Yeah. And I know these people won't hear it, but for the ones that have selective hearing and just hear the negative kind of side of what we're saying, like the negative tone of it, you won't hear this anyway, so fuck you. You're just trying to sow, like, more hate and more, like, you're trying to make your views in life of, like, no, Asians are better than this or whatever is better. Latins are better because of this, and... So, again, you're basically like the Woody Allen defenders. You're just trying to prove it to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get anywhere. Like, we got to have these conversations. They have to be had.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be better, of course, if we had someone Asian here to talk about it, which we'll probably have someone soon enough. We can find someone that'll be able to come on and do it. But it's like, you have to at least have the balls to be able to have the conversation. Yeah, we're going to take blowback, I can guarantee it, because people are going to do what they're going to do. But it's like, to have the balls be able to say, like, okay, well, I feel like this is going on and this needs to be addressed while we're, supporting this and everything like that. Damn it. She's like, keep talking.
She hears a cat or something.
It'll be funny.
They're racist against Asians. Have no idea who we grew up around in the garage that we grew up in.
I'm like, okay. Yeah. All right. But these uncomfortable conversations need to happen, because if they don't happen, what happens is people go off and they continue to have their biases and things like that because they feel like, oh, the world is like this because I know it is, because I've been raised to feel like this XYZ and I'm not.
And who am I to change this?
Right. And I'm not able to communicate this to other people that I have an issue with. So I have to just hold it in and keep this weird anger bottled up and everything. Like, from the Asian communities especially, like, I know one big thing from, like, the Korean community when it comes to LA. Korean community still has an issue with the 92 riots because they feel like, black people chose to just burn down and like destroy their businesses, and they had nothing to do with what was going on. See your point. However, I can counter with, well, the the shooting of the Natasha Hartland, I believe her name is, and the treatment of black people in Asian stores had reached an all-time high at that point. So it's like cause and effect. Like, just because this happened doesn't mean that it was like this was like a sole incident and there was nothing that led up to this. No, there was stuff that led up to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you don't want to do the research for that, that's on you.
Yeah. People just don't like to believe, like to look for the reasons, and when the reasons are put in their face, they just go, no, doesn't align with my view of what I know to be true. And
I talked to someone who had I guess their family had owned a store during that time period, and I talked about that. He was Korean, I'm black, and we talked about it, and I brought up the points to whatever, but he was like, but come on, it wasn't right that they burnt down our stores and everything, so that's why we had to shoot you guys. And I was like, well, it's kind of why we burnt down your stores, and they're like, right? Do you understand that?
Yeah.
It's like, so you're saying this happened, I'm saying this happened.
Well, let's take a life for a store. Yeah. That adds up.
We can agree to disagree. But you see my point, I'm not changing it. And I see yours, you're not going to change it. Cool. Like, And that's what needs to happen. If we can continue to just choose to, when shit happens, to have your biases and don't have these conversations, the world's going to stay the same. It's been that for however long this country's been here.
Yeah, all the myths that they made up way back, like, let's just say in the 20s or whatever, about all the minorities, all those myths will just keep going because none of us are talking to each other. None of us are realizing, like, oh, we all do the same kind of thing, just in little different ways.
Right.
But
hey, no one's going to listen.
Yeah, selective hearing.